Hello, Morem here. In today's video I want to show you my Frostbite Sorcerer build guide for Diablo 4 that utilizes the Blizzard and Frozen Orb spells to give everything a wintry taste. This build excels at AoE, deals insane single target damage, has incredible defenses due to CC and shields, and is just an absolute joy to play. Now before I move to the guide, let me thank Mobalytics for sponsoring this video. I'm personally working with them in their content creator program, which allows me to put more hours into each guide. They're a great source for different builds featuring amazing content creators like Lurkin and Screamheart, and I'm also able to provide you with detailed written guides for your enjoyment. And I also recommend their app, which provides you with an in-game overlay that is basically their builder. You get easy and fast access to any build you like, timers for bosses and events, and you can hide it without any annoying markers or icons when you do not need it. So next, let's move on to the build. This guide aims at providing you with a perfectly smooth experience by cruising to level 100. Most of the leveling phase utilizes the powerful Frozen Orb spell to wreck your way through encounters, with the mid and end game focusing around the Blizzard triggering your enchantments for Frozen Orb and Firebolt, as well as multiple legendary aspects like the Glacial aspects to summon Ice Spikes, which are the primary source of damage later. Once you get access to the second enchantment slot at level 30, you want to slot in Frozen Orb as well as Firebolt. Casting any spell has a 30% chance to trigger Frozen Orb, which applies vulnerable to targets which also apply burn dots for dot fire damage, which enables Devouring Blaze. Freezing and chilling enemies further provides us with CC, preventing enemies from moving and buffing our damage even further. The frozen status can be applied through chill, which is done through Blizzard, Frost Nova or Frozen Orb. Targets affected by Frozen are also at the same time affected by the chill status, allowing for multipliers that work for chill also to work on frozen targets. Now with the new season we now have access to a ton more freedom when leveling, because mana per second modifiers are on gear, specifically the helmet, chest and boots, and aspects actually stay in their codex of power after salvaging them. This lets us repeatedly apply the Blizzard Ice Spike aspect throughout the leveling experience, which now also scales with weapon damage. This makes for the possibility of a much earlier Blizzard transition, but I would still recommend you to go with the Frozen Orb build that is also featured in the written planner to at least the Sacred tier. During World Tier 3 and World Tier 4 you will be able to find a ton of incredible unique items such as Tal Rasha's Iridescent Loop, Asus Heirloom, and Tybalt's Will, all of which will either boost your offensive capabilities or increase your survivability. And if you're lucky, you can also dip into the uber unique tiers with the Ring of Starless Skies and the Harlequin Crest. Now, if you like what I do and want to support me, make sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you have not already. I cover all sorts of RPG, speed strategy, C or RPG on this channel in form of extensive guides. So thank you very much for supporting me, and let's dive into the meat. Now, you can find the planner down in the description box. It links you to this specific location, the Mobalytics site. You have a 1 to 70 leveling planner, a 70 to 100 endgame transition planner, and the Exodia 100. Exodia 100 features the uber uniques, obviously. So you have Harlequin Crest, Tyr's Might, and the Ring of Starless Skies, with a little explanation right here underneath the planner. This is true for every single tab. Down below you will find the gameplay loop detailed right here, how it works. So basically what I explained in the previous section. You have a leveling tab, you have a defense and resistance tab, a scaling your damage and Paragon board tab, transitioning into endgame, then additional leveling plan tips, and a build list of already finished and updated builds. So for the leveling experience, the most important thing you want to look out for is the aspect of Frozen Orbit, because we're going to utilize the Frozen Orb spell. Now the spell got changed and it now shoots a projectile to where your mouse cursor is currently located at, and the projectile stays there and explodes at the location, which is a much stronger spell than basically anything you can find in the early game. Sure, you could potentially use the Ice Shard spell to deal more single target damage, but it's completely fine to use Frozen Orb and you should be able to deal with basically any threat. I personally leveled on the PTR with Frozen Orb until level 50 and had no problem whatsoever, so you should be completely fine. But during the leveling process, you can also find the Blizzard aspects, which are the Glacial aspect, as well as the aspect of the Frozen Tundra. The Glacial aspect is the one that is the big, juicy one. So whenever you cast a Blizzard, you spawn Ice Spikes and they deal damage. Those are separate entities and they count as a separate spell without the lucky hit chance. So they have a base crit chance and benefit from crit damage. As you probably might have learned in previous seasons, this is a flat damage aspect. However, with this season, season 4, you are going to scale this damage with your weapon damage. This means upgrade your weapon and reapply the glacial aspect. Now, aspects in season 4 go directly to the codex after salvaging them. So if you find a better aspect, salvage it, and you get it in your codex. The glacial aspect should be always reapplied on your weapon once you get it, so you can utilize your blizzard. This will be much better than the frozen orb single cast ability because you're benefiting from the glacial aspect and you're still going to shoot your frozen orb projectiles because of the frozen orb enchant, which gives you a 30% chance to use it on a blizzard. So you're benefiting through both. During the leveling process and the end game, the skill tree will look exactly the same. You will have a leveling path available here. So at level 13, the 13th point is going to go into ice armor, and so on and so forth. In the app, you can just have this one open with a Shift Q keybind. Otherwise, you can go to the Mobalytics website and look at it like this. Down below in the gem section, specifically, there is a skull gem in the jewelry slot. As a sorcerer, you will most likely have your resistances capped during the early game, so use skull gems. You want to preferably use skull gems for the whole game to cap your armor to 9,230. This is extremely important. This is the new cap and provides you with 85% physical damage reduction versus enemies level 100 to 200. This is extremely important during the end game to get right, otherwise you get blown up. So you need to cap your resistances to 70. Then cap your armor to 9,230 and then get the R. The R is now much rarer and you cannot roll it on gear. So for example here you have maximum life and ranks to defensive skills, which is teleport, or armor and maximum life. You don't have the DR available on this. Unique items, Paragon board and Skilltree are the only sources you can get it. Otherwise, that's basically summing up everything that's new with Season 4. Now, let's go over the Skilltree. We're going to start with 1 rank in Firebolt and 1 rank in Frostbolt. Then we pick up Frozen Orb, Enhanced Frozen Orb, as well as Greater Frozen Orb. Pick up Teleport, Enhanced Teleport, and Shimmering Teleport. Grab Ice Armor, Enhanced Ice Armor, and Shimmering Ice Armor. At this stage, you can put a few points into Frozen Orb and spec out of Frozen Orb afterwards once you reach your Blizzard, because it's more efficient to get more damage on Frozen Orb because you're constantly casting it. But once you get your Blizzard up and running, you don't need to hard cast your Frozen Orb anymore. So take out those points, you don't need them. Pick up Enhanced Frost Nova and Mythical Frost Nova. Then pick up your Blizzard with all the enhancements with the Mage Blizzard, so the Blizzard duration is enhanced. This will directly scale our damage with the ice spikes because more ice spikes will spawn over the duration. You can overlap blizzards over each other, so you have more instances of damage up all the time. In the ultimate cluster, pick up Deep Freeze as well as Prime Deep Freeze and Supreme Deep Freeze. Get Permafrost, Hoarfrost, and then 1 point in Frigid Breeze to get something to recover mana, especially during the leveling process. That's very important. Now to get some recovery, we want to pick up Fiery Surge, Endless Pyre, and Warmth, because we are going to make enemies burn, because we have the Firebolt enchantment. So this one, all our direct damage from skills will deal burning damage. We deal direct damage, which now triggers the burning, which now triggers a heal. For the Keystone, we pick up Shatter, and then we fill up basically everything that we have in the skill tree in terms of more multipliers, which is Hoarfrost, Icy Touch, and Permafrost. Then we pick Inner Flames and Devouring Blaze, which now benefits our Ice Spikes. Then we pick up some defenses with Mana Shield and Protection. Pick up Glass Cannon, Elemental Attunement to reset your skills. A few points into the Frost Nova spell to lower its cooldown, as well as a few points into the Teleport spell to lower its cooldown. You can alternatively only go with 3 points in the Frost Nova and 5 points in the Teleport to lower its cooldown even further. That's 0.5 seconds less cooldown. And something to keep in mind, we have 1 point in Flameshield. This is the only change we need to worry about when we go to the 70 to 100 endgame transition section. At this point, we have enough mana sustain that we do not need a basic skill, so we can slot into the Flameshield spell. Otherwise, during the leveling process, we need a Frostbolt, because when we run out of mana, we want to have something to shoot at enemies, and this is our preferred option. Now, in the skill tree, during leveling, some additional things. The gear stat priority is mana per second on the helmet, mana per second on your chest, movement speed on your boots, intelligence on your weapon, crit strike chance on both of your rings. Devouring Blaze ranks or movement speed both are pretty good on your amulet, crit chance on your hands, and armor on your pants. During leveling, we want to use a two-handed weapon, same with the 70 to 100 transition period. But once we get to the Exodia tier, so with the Uber uniques, we need an additional slot for aspect. So we need to drop the two-handed weapon and pick up a one-hander and off-hander, because now we use the Ring of Starless Skies, so we cannot have the aspect of Tundra on the ring. Now, once you transition to the end game, you will want to use the Soulbrand unique chest, which will now provide you with an uptime of basically 100% on barriers. We scale our damage directly with barriers because we are using the conceited aspect. So with this one, we basically always have a barrier up. We are currently also using the Tybalt's Will unique, which provides us with our primary resource recovery. So when we teleport, we get our 50 primary resource. Then we have Azu's Heirloom, which provides us with crit strike chance based on our movement speed bonus, and Tal Rasha's Iridescent Loop. Now this one is a 3 times 15% more multiplier, all of which stack with each other. We deal with teleport lightning damage, we deal fire damage through the burning from Firebolt, and we deal cold damage through blizzard, ice spikes, and so on and so forth. So we deal all 3 types of damage, so we get the most benefit from this ring we can get. Now for the stat priority, it's mana per second on your helmet slot with armor and cooldown reduction second, and you want to temper utility, crowd control duration, and chill slow potency on your helmet. Specifically, while the chill slow potency, we're going to freeze enemies faster, which will now benefit our damage. Crowd control duration will make sure that enemies are frozen for longer, so we want that also on our gear. Now for the tempering. Tempering is pretty expensive, so you should only do it on really good gear pieces. The mana per second is okay, so you can temper this one and aim for the mana per second, but you should also make sure that only greater affixes be targeted by this to get the most benefit from this. Cooldown reduction is also very, very good, so if it lands on cooldown reduction instead of mana per second 2 times or 3 times even, it's pretty good regardless. On your gloves, you don't need levers to skills. Blizzard, not affected. And our Frozen Orb is only side damage and here for vulnerability. That's why we have the aspect of the Frozen Orbit, because we want to proc vulnerability all the time. Crit chance, attack speed, intelligence, really good. Cold damage, why we are not going to use close damage or distant damage, because it's, well, you're going to be sometimes in distant distance and sometimes in close distance. So you're not always benefiting, and I think with this build it's pretty much something in between. So cold damage will benefit more, but close damage and distant damage will also benefit your teleport and firebolt. So it's kind of a weird middle ground. On this build I prefer the cold damage. It's just that. You are also guaranteed to get the more multiplier fixed on your Paragon board and Frigid Fate, and it only loses you a tiny amount of damage if you are not optimal in your positioning. So utility, crowd control duration, again, to increase your freeze duration. On your weapon, very important to get the attack speed here. This will guarantee 70% attack speed. Combined with the attack speed on your gloves, you're going to reach the 100% attack speed mark, which is the cap. So that's going to give you the most amount of damage. So you want to stack as many blizzards as possible. That's really, really important. And the resource cost reduction as a greater affix will be around 52%. So that's going to lower your blizzard cost to 20, and that's much more manageable, and you will be able to sustain your mana. So resource cost reduction, a greater affix is the most important thing you can get on here with the attack speed. The intelligence is nice, something as a baseline, boosts your damage quite considerably, so you don't want to neglect it, but the resource cost reduction is the one you really want to get on your weapon. Same with the attack speed. Lastly, your enchants are going to be a lucky hit percent chance to deal cold damage, but that's going to be secondary. It's not going to affect you in a major way because your ice spikes don't have a lucky hit chance and you're not going to proc much through your blizzard. It has a 33% lucky hit chance over 8 seconds. So basically every third blizzard in 8 seconds will proc 1 lucky hit chance. That's basically nothing. On the ring, crit chance, maximum life. You want to temper this one and try to get the maximum life. Crit chance is also okay. The bonus to Frigid Breeze can also be great if you are struggling with mana, and cold damage is also okay. So all of those, that's why there is no temper bonus here. You can choose whichever you want. Don't, under any circumstances, try to get the resource cost reduction hit because it's not needed, and it lowers the mana cost to around 70. So it's 3 mana points. That is not much. Keep in mind, this ring should be exchanged for the Ring of Starless Skies. It's a little bit better than Harlequin's Crest, so you want to exchange this one first. And on your amulet, try to grab Ranks to Devouring Blaze, 3 ranks here. If you boost this one with a greater affix, you get 8 ranks, so that's quite a lot. Your damage is going to skyrocket with this one. You want movement speed here with a greater affix, cooldown reduction to lower the cooldown of your teleport, frost nova, and well, basically all your spells. Then cold damage and crowd control duration. Like I said, you want to extend the freeze duration as much as possible, and that's done through this setup. Lastly, for Exodia, you want to exchange this one for a one-hand and off-hand setup. On the off-hand, you want crit chance, intelligence, and attack speed. Attack speed has to be greater and has to be boosted 2 times to get to the attack speed cap. You have cold damage and lucky hit chance to deal cold damage. So basically the same thing as with your main hand, but instead of resource cost reduction, we're going to use the crit chance here, because we're going to use the Ring of Starless Skies, which is 40% resource cost reduction. So it basically offsets this one with the ring, but switch to the Uber unique setup with the Ring of Starless Skies. And lastly, for the Paragon board, we're going to start with the starter board in Enchanter, provides you with maximum resistance to the skills elements, so 5 fire resistance and 5 ice resistance, so pretty good. Non-physical damage is basically fire, lightning, and ice damage, so really good node. Then we move on to Frigid Fate, pick up the Frigid Fate legendary node, provides you with more multiplier versus vulnerable targets. Then pick up the Control Glyph. The Control Glyph gives you up to 20% damage, more damage versus stunned or frozen enemies. We move on to the Icefall Paragon board, pick up enough dexterity to proc this one to receive the threshold bonus, which is 10% more damage. We pick up Icefall, which is 15% more damage, doubled versus frozen targets. The next board is Elemental Summoner. We pick up Frostbite here for 50% reduced damage taken after an enemy is no longer frozen, because they are not a threat when they are no longer frozen. But if you want to exchange this one versus something else, try to get something with reduced damage. Then we have the Enchantmaster board with the Stalagmite Glyph. This one gives you a ton of critical strike chance for your ice spikes and more damage with your ice spikes. So we want to max out this one as soon as possible. And lastly, in the Keyless Conduit board, we want to get the Destruction Glyph. Also max this one out for as much crit damage as possible with crit damage more multiplier. Now, if you want to read up on anything, here's everything in detailed descriptions with a quick leveling plan. Finish the seasonal quest as soon as possible, level through Helltides, do some whispers, and that's about it. Now this sums up the video. If you liked what you saw, make sure to like, comment and subscribe if you have not already. You can also support me some more by joining the channel membership, which will allow me to keep making videos. So thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye.